Okay, actually I will start with three scenarios. Consider the number one scenario. The development team had made the changes in database and the source code. Development team forget to notify the database changes to the test team. So test team is aware of code changes from the SVN log, but when they start testing, they figure out that something is not working. So after some time of digging, they figure out, okay, development team did not notify me about the changes in database. So wastage of time. So isn't better to manage the DB structure, the store procedure similar to source code file as we maintain our source files or code base actually. Consider scenario 2. Multiple developers are working on the shared database and no way to track the changes, who made which changes, and also which changes is done against which issue. So isn't better to maintain a change log history of your database user-wise and issue-wise. And consider the scenario 3 where two different applications are using a shared database. Development team suddenly made a changes in a shared table and development team 2 doesn't know anything about the DB changes. Application 1 is working, application 2 suddenly stopped working. So isn't better to get a automatic notification for the changes done in the critical or shared resources? Okay, above all these backgrounds, now it's my title slide. My subject, database change automation technique. I actually try to develop a certain scheme to automate the changes made in SQL Server. So for that, I built a tool. It's called SQL script for SVN. It was actually a paid project. So number one, what is SQL script for SVN? It is a SQL Server database change management tool. Remember, it's not fully automated. It is a semi-automated tool. Number two, what it does, it tracks the DDL changes. It means data definition language changes in any kinds of changes in SQL Server. And thirdly, it generates equivalent .SQL files and integrates all the changes with SVN. So what do you need? You need a DDL trigger on your database, a subversion repository. Install any subversion command line client, like I use CollabNet subversion client. You need .NET Framework 2 and you need this tool, SQL script for SVN tool, that I'm going to actually explain. Anyone can explain or anyone can make similar type of tool by himself. How it works. User A make a changes in a database, and whenever he's making any changes in database, actually let's explain this text in a visual diagram. What it will happen when any kinds of changes will be done by the developer in step 1, like I am modifying a store procedure, or I am creating a table, or I am altering a table by adding a column, or any kinds of changes. Whenever any changes is done by the developer or by the DBA, then there is a DDL trigger that is available in the database. And DDL trigger, what it does actually, whenever any change is done in SQL Server, there is a corresponding event that is triggered. So that trigger will catch that event and then parse that event data XML format file. Then it will parse that XML file and it will understand the changes and it will insert that corresponding changes into a table. And that table I mentioned in the this block, the DDL trigger and change log table. This is actually the part of this database. So whenever any changes is done by the developers, it is automatically inserting and tracking the changes into a table that is called a version log table. So what is the number 3 step? That I just explained. The DDL trigger captures each changes and insert them into change log table, including user ID that made the changes. So if developer 1 wants to change any kinds of changes in database, he need to log into the database server using his user ID and password. So in your organization, actually, you can maintain a separate user ID for any kinds of user. And whenever any kinds of changes is logged in that table, the tool, what it does, it will scan that table continuously. And it will process all the changes that is recorded in the database. Okay, let's get a small demo of video. What it does actually, it's a very quick video. You can see every type of database objects are equivalently treated as a single SQL file. So whenever any kinds of changes has been done, this table actually considers everything And this is a column to make sure that which part has been processed by the tool and which changes has not been processed by the tool. Suppose here one developer is actually changing a store procedure. The trigger has actually captured the changes and inserted row in the particular table, and it has been marked at processed equals to 0. So another table modification has been done, and these all are actually termed as 0. So now this is a tool configuration. You need to mention that in which subversion repository actually it will put all the files. And that is the database connection information. That's actually you need to put it here. So whenever you're running that table or tool actually, it will process the table and it will generate equivalent SQL files. Okay. So actually this is the SQL log, subversion log.
Won't stop.
Okay, done.
Partiality.
Well, enjoy the show. I mean, okay. Give him a big hand. I mean, pretty interesting. Thank you. It was pretty interesting, actually. So, what do? You put your feet up on the table and let this do all the work for you? I mean, they pay you for something, right?
Yeah, definitely. But actually, any kinds of changes that is done or work as a paid project actually to improve the processes, because whenever you are working in a certain organization and you figure out that something's not working and something need to make the communication between the development team and the test team, actually what it will give you when you introduce this scheme in your organization, what it will do, it will actually give a proper clarification of your database changes. You can easily track your database changes, and what it will do, it will eliminate the confusion between the development team and test team. And so you can manage your changes in more efficient way. And you don't need to do the manual process that, okay, I am making a changes, then create an issue and then send it to your DBA, then he will make the changes, then test team will get notified from that. So all are some manual process that we all are introducing in our company in different ways to achieve this certain goal. So to accomplish this or to remove this type of confusion, actually this idea came up that if we do something that it will automatically track the database changes and then it will give us equivalent SQL files. So I don't need to create that SQL files by myself and then I need to commit it in a subversion to maintain that repository. So that is the reason to create this tool actually, and to complete this tool only one information was missing.
Okay, there are more questions. Okay.
No, actually one just information is missing. That is that the Microsoft SQL Server SMO package actually that is available. There are lots of APIs available that you can easily access the database structure by programmatically. So that was the missing part.
And I found this very interesting. It's like it's an innovation. They found a problem. They tried to fix it. They tried to accelerate their testing. I have one last question before I throw it to the audience. Yes, I'll give it to you. Don't worry. Is there anything that gets missed? I mean, any kind of migration or changes?
Yeah, definitely, because it's all DDL changes. The DML, the data manipulation languages changes has been missed, because in Microsoft SQL Server there is a CDC, capture data changes operation. If you flag that bit on any kinds of table, then it will actually maintain the changes on your data related changes on that particular table. So that is also already available in SQL Server, but this feature is actually not available programmatically, that he will generate or track each kind of DDL changes for you. But he actually, in SQL Server actually, each type of event has been triggered. If for create table, there is a create actually trigger. For alter table, there is alter trigger. So corresponding trigger is available. And probably all you know about XML command, in OpenXML command in SQL Server, that is also easily available, that you can parse the XMLs and you can
questions. We can go for the questions. He can answer more there. Okay, give it to him. The one in B Global T-shirt.
Okay, that's really a cool feature, I think. But the problem is with the DML. Sometimes it happens that we keep configuration values in another table, and your trigger don't apply on those things.
Yeah, right. But we can actually achieve that thing. Yeah, you can finish your question and then I can answer.
I want to say that another thing what we can do is that every time, rather than doing the database changes directly to the we can keep a table to keep track of what version of database changes happened and every time we have some new change configuration related or DML, we can write SQL installer, and database will keep track of what number of what number of last update database. So that is in file, so that SVN can also track of that. What do you think about it?
Yeah, definitely. That will definitely help you. But I think the part that you asked about the lookup tables or like the configuration tables actually, the SMO package that I just mentioned. With that API, actually, with the available API, you can easily capture the current states of data of a particular table, and you can make a simple insert into state commands equivalent SQL files, and then whenever you are doing any kinds of insertion on that table, then that event will be triggered. And if you modify your detail trigger to capture these particular events, then easily it will give you a notification that okay, your lookup table data has been changed. And then possibly if you run your tool again, then you can put the data in a similar way actually. The main problem is that whenever your data volume size is large, then it will take a long time to process that changes. So I was actually more concentrating in DDL changes, because in sometimes a column data type has been changed, or particular column is missing, or not null, foreign key reference missing, primary key. This type of changes is actually very confusing between development and test in the most common problems. So I was actually trying to address the main these type of issues, but the area is open. Anyone can actually explore, and then they can build their own arena actually.
Okay, we'll have one last question from the back in the B Global T-shirt.
Yeah, very cool feature. I understand any particular user can log in the SQL Server Management System and trace the detailed modifications in the SQL system. And can you clarify us how can you trace the issue number with that particular user?
Yeah, definitely, because that was my scenario number 2. That that was in the video, because due to time constraint I didn't explain. I told it is a semi-automated tool. The tool, what it will do, it will generate the files, and then it will dump in the subversion repository, but it will not commit. You can make your tool like that, it will automatically commit. Then what is missing? The comments is missing. Properly commit is missing. So if the developer made the changes in database and then he execute this tool, then it will generate the equivalent SQL files, and whenever you're going to the subversion repository, you will find that these item has been added, modified, this item has been deleted. Now you perform your manual commit with proper changes with the proper issue number. Then actually that is the part, only the semi-automated part, because I developed it as a service also, but then with the direction of my project manager, he suggested that okay, make it a semi-automated, so that the developer who is committing, he can give a proper note number, and then it will be more fruitful to understand that okay, for this issue number you have modified these particular database changes. So that is the reason I called it semi-automated actually. Yeah.
Sure, you got a good raise for that. Big hand for Tauhid. Thank you very much.